So the idea to look into body cameras was really kind of a no-brainer because of the national landscape at the time. You had all these cities with all these police shootings and a lot of unrest between police and citizens. And Houston had just launched an $8 million program, so it was really a no-brainer. The question was, what was the angle? What path were we going to go down? And then as we got into researching, it became pretty crystal clear.
Citizens are going to demand transparency.
Transparency.
And anything less will create more problems in the community than it solves.
So everybody was throwing around the term transparency. That was like the buzzword at City Hall. But was it just a bunch of talk, right? Did the rhetoric reflect reality? Was the Houston Police Department living up to its promise? That's what we had to find out. So we're trying to look at videos in 4 types of crimes.
We really wanted to see the video, so we had to wait for cases to be adjudicated so that we could see the footage, what was happening on the streets. So week after week we put out a new request, and they were frequent and they were sometimes grueling. And while we were waiting to get the video back, we decided to ask for some emails using keywords, and we want to know, are things not working out? Well, we go through thousands of emails and we get one back, and it turns out to be huge.
The DA's office looked at the first 2 months of the body camera program. What they found was, of all the cases filed by cops with cameras, there was a ton of cases where there was no video.
How many are we talking here?
729 cases with no video in the first 2 months of the program. While everybody's talking about transparency, these lawmakers are saying, hold on, we're rushing this through, there are problems from the get-go.
Traditionally, people at home don't get to see all the work that goes into telling a story. These projects take a long time. There's a lot of rabbit holes that you go down. And I think that people at home can't appreciate that. So we put up GoPros so that we could capture real moments. Moments like when Jeremy was at his desk and he kept calling the police department.
Weeks are going by and we're sitting here and continuing to wait. Checking back with you, seeing if you got any progress. Can you kindly give me a shout back at your convenience? Don't mean to be a pest, but they do pay me to be persistent. Hope you understand.
Seeing different shirts and jackets, it really made the point of how many times you called them. And I think to the viewer, that really shows how stories are made and how persistent you have to be. And that's what is done to tell these stories.
We asked 3 different times in 3 different ways.
Transparency ended up being what we were trying to be, transparent about the work we were doing and how we went about doing it.
We have only one item on today's agenda. The item is a presentation from the Houston Police Department.
We looked at the internal policy of what governs these body cameras, and I sat down with a highlighter and picked it apart, and then I think I sent the team an email basically breaking down each and every part, and that's when we all kind of realized they weren't following these parts at all. There were internal audits that were supposed to be going on, checks and balances against the system that they were just completely missing. If you don't know what's going on, you don't know what's going right and what's going wrong.
This is from Denver?
Yeah. What this is Denver's error report, and they do it weekly.
Every week?
Yeah, they do it every Monday.
Every single Monday they check on their cops to say who's doing this right and who's not.
$8 million is a huge price tag. And once we started asking questions, we started realizing that everyone was so excited to get the brand new thing that it was kind of like that price tag. We would just figure out a way to pay for it. And some of the council members were saying, no, you can't do that.
To me, it's like making sausage in the dark because you don't know what's going on and you don't know what you're putting in it.
Making sausage in the dark. It's funny, but it's true because that kind of says it all about this program from the get-go. It was rushed through, and then once it was launched, Houston Police didn't really have a clear path forward on what to do. And I think why this piece was effective is we pulled back the curtain and said, it is so much more than just slapping the camera on the chest. The good news is things changed. A new police chief came aboard. He called a timeout on the program and halted the rollout of any more cameras, and those audits that hadn't been done were starting to get done. So in the end, while it took a while, we were beginning to see that transparency that everybody was talking about from the get-go.